Hundreds of South Korean people who had been working here in the United States are being flown home today.
There will be political and potential economic fallout from this. Today, South Korea's president admitted some South Korean companies may be hesitant to invest billions of dollars in the U.S. And already, big companies like LG are advising their employees to limit travel to the U.S. And if they're already there, they should stay put. The image of those workers lined up like criminals has had a big impact on public perception here. One professor told me that when President Trump visits South Korea next month, he should bring a very big gift basket.
Welcome. I am Dena, and I want to welcome you to another discussion with Dena. South Korea's trade unions have called on Trump to issue an official apology after a Southern Korean worker said that they witnessed the raid and told the BBC of panic and confusion as federal agents descended on the site. On this site where some people were being led away in chains. Now, the South Korean government says it is investigating potential human rights violations during that raid and detention of Korean workers by U.S. authorities. They have also expressed strong regret to the U.S. and has officially asked that its citizens' rights and interests are not infringed upon during law enforcement proceedings. This is according to one of the presidential spokespersons. Now, there were more than 300 Korean workers that were returned home after being held for a week following the raid at an electric vehicle battery plant in Ellaville, Georgia. Now, the incident is said to have tested ties between the countries. I don't know why, because they should understand that they have to respect this country's rules, regulations, and laws, even when it comes to their hiring practices. As we or anyone that attends or should visit their country are expected to respect their laws regarding citizenship, employment, or whatever their rules and guidelines are in South Korea. So, even as South Korean films are set to invest billions in America under a trade deal to avoid steep U.S. tariffs, South Korean authorities say that they will work with the relevant companies to thoroughly investigate any potential human rights violations or other issues. And that, again, is according to their spokesperson. Now, the raid has raised tensions, some say, between the U.S. and South Korea, where many of those detained were from, with President Lee Jae-yong warning that it will discourage foreign investments into the U.S. and called the situation bewildering, adding that it is a common practice for Korean companies to send workers to help set up overseas factories. Even so, those workers are still compelled to enter the country legally. Just as everyone else, you don't go sneaking through the border, and then go work for that company. I don't think there's a problem with people receiving a temporary visa, a work visa, whatever it takes, that quantifies you to come in and assist with getting whatever factory up so that it can employ Americans. Now, Honda said the plant's opening will now be delayed by at least 2 months. In response, President Trump said foreign workers sent to the country are welcome, and he doesn't want to frighten off investors. The U.S. needs to learn from foreign experts in fields like shipbuilding, chip making, and computing. He also said on his Truth Social platform on Sunday that we welcome them. We welcome their employees, and we are willing to proudly say we will learn from them and do even better than them at their own game sometime in the not too distant future. And that is all fine and well, but even South Koreans need to abide by the laws that we are required to abide by, and everybody else that comes here. Now, a U.S. Republican politician by the name of TORI BRANUM, she is the one that is claiming that she alerted authorities as to what was going on at this plant. Since doing so, she says she has been inundated with criticism online after confessing to have tipped off U.S. immigration authorities about alleged hiring practices at the LG Energy Solution Hyundai Motor Group plant in Georgia. Now, TORI BRANUM also claims to be facing a wave of online harassment since doing so, accusing her of jeopardizing multi-billion-dollar deals with Korea and that even her underage children are being subjected to cyber stalking. In an interview that was published in Rolling Stone, BRANUM said she had reported the plant to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement over claims that it was not hiring local Georgia residents. This is what she voted for, she said, to get rid of a lot of illegals. This is what she told Rolling Stone. She said, and what I voted for is happening. However, since making this report, BRANUM says she has received an onslaught of text messages, phone calls, and social media posts filled with a lot of hate. She posted a photo of herself on Facebook in response, holding a modified AR-15 style rifle with a laser scope. I'm kind of curious. What was that you said in my inbox? Is what she wrote. Now, the post has since been taken down, but the backlash online continues, and it's something fierce.
Hundreds of South Korean people who had been working here in the United States are being flown home today.
The workers were detained in an immigration raid at a Hyundai motor business project in Georgia last week. NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer reports from Seoul.
The workers were taken by bus from the detention facility to the airport. No handcuffs, no chains. That was the deal that South Korean officials made with the White House and with President Trump. This repatriation was supposed to happen yesterday. South Korean officials wanted a quick turnaround. As soon as the charter jet was on American soil, they wanted to be able to bring these workers back home. But President Trump stepped in and wanted to look at ways to keep these skilled workers in the U.S. They're building a facility, they're training Americans, and they're creating American jobs. South Korean officials say the deal is the workers will be allowed to go back to finish their work, but right now they're exhausted and they're in shock. There will be political and potential economic fallout from this. Today, South Korea's president admitted some South Korean companies may be hesitant to invest billions of dollars in the U.S. And already big companies like LG are advising their employees to limit travel to the U.S. And if they're already there, they should stay put. The image of those workers lined up like criminals has had a big impact on public perception here. One professor told me that when President Trump visits South Korea next month, he should bring a very big gift basket. Seoul.
After the arrests, deportation proceedings started immediately. Then they were paused, and President Trump said the workers should be given the option to stay. Ultimately, just one worker who already had relatives in the U.S. decided to stay.
It is said to be one of the largest single-site immigration enforcements in U.S. history. The operation involved law enforcement agents from multiple federal agencies, including ICE, Border Patrol, the FBI, Drug Enforcement Administration, the IRS, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and Explosives, and underscoring the government-wide administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. But it begs the question, what good is having a factory come to this country if your intent is to hire your own citizens? More specifically, individuals that chose to enter into this country illegally. Make that make sense. Are foreign countries that choose to build business or do business in the United States of America not made aware of the rules, the regulations, or the guidelines in regard to citizenship, and should not any entity choosing to embark in business ventures within this country have a clear understanding in advance as to those rules, those regulations, and the repercussions that follow when you violate these practices. Is something nefarious going on? Is there some nefarious reasoning? Or should we be concerned? Because I don't understand how you hire illegals if you're sending people to assist with getting the company up. Then surely that is something that is completely understandable, so that you can hire people from this side of the world, from America. It would make sense. I don't know if what they're saying they done is legitimate or not. I just find it very odd. But the intent and expectation is for these foreign manufacturing companies to come here and legally employ American citizens and reward them with a decent living wage for the positions that are available. But it begs the question once again, were these people instructed to enter America illegally? I am just curious as to how it all came about in the first place. But no charges have been filed against the company or the workers, but officials say it is an ongoing investigation. The plant was a major economic project supported by the state of Georgia and part of a multi-billion-dollar facility that employs about 1,200 people. And many South Koreans saw this, they viewed this, the Georgia raid, and they saw it as a source of national disgrace, and some of them said they were stunned over it. I didn't know why you would be stunned if they came in illegally. But 10 days earlier, South Korean President Lee Jae-yong and President Trump held their first summit in Washington. That was around August 25th. Before that, in late July, South Korea promised hundreds of billions of dollars in U.S. investments to reach a tariff deal. Now, South Korean officials have reportedly been negotiating with the U.S. to secure voluntary departures rather than deportations. If deported, the workers could face penalties, making them ineligible to return to the United States for up to 10 years. Cho told them that South Korean officials are in active discussions with U.S. officials and lawmakers about possible legislation to create a separate visa quota for South Korean professionals operating in the United States. And this is according to him, of course. But experts say South Korea won't likely take any major retaliatory steps against the United States, but that the Georgia raids could become a source of tensions between the allies as the Trump administration intensifies the immigration raids that they are doing. Now, many think that Trump may have started to backtrack a bit after earlier he was backing the raid. He was big up in it. He said that the U.S. could work out an arrangement with South Korean workers to train U.S. citizens to do work such as battery and computer manufacturing. But once again, wasn't that their purpose for being at the plant in the first place? In the guidelines, another lawmaker by the name of Kim Ji-yang from the conservative opposition People Power Party said it was unacceptable and that the raid dealt South Korea a severe blow that would be difficult to heal. Really? Some lawmakers even call for the government to retaliate by investigating Americans who are alleged to work illegally in South Korea. You probably should. But South Koreans question U.S. visa systems and have expressed frustration over what they call the United States strict limits on H-1B and H-2B visas for high-skilled foreign workers to protect its domestic workforce, and its inaction on Seoul's calls to expand work visas for skilled South Korean nationals. As a result, South Korean companies have been relying on short-term visitor visas or the electronic system for travel authorization to send workers needed to launch manufacturing facilities or handle other setup tasks. This is expected to delay the factory's completion and also cause significant losses for the United States. However, the lead agent of Homeland Security investigations, once again his name is Stephen Strank, he said some of the detained workers had illegally crossed the U.S. border, while others had entered the country legally but had expired visas or had entered on a visa waiver that prohibited them from working in the first place. He went on to say that we welcome all companies who want to invest in the United States. And if they need to bring workers in for building or other projects, that's fine. But they need to do it the legal way. And I could not agree with him more. But what of this Republican politician, TORI BRANUM, the one that tipped off the agency to the illegals at the Georgia plant? I'm just wondering why so many people are coming at this lady. There were some comments that were written to her, and I actually read a few of them. Here's one. How dumb do you have to be to ruin a multi-billion-dollar contract with Korea because of white supremacy or MAGA hate? This is what one person wrote on X, and they call her Gestapo, comparing her actions to racial discrimination. Another user actually accused her of reporting people who had valid visas and were participating in a joint U.S.-Korea project. A commenter added, if Hyundai pulls out of Georgia and we lose 8,500 jobs, who should we think? TORI is trying to keep Georgians from getting jobs. What do you think about this? Do you think that TORI BRANUM was doing too much when she decided to pick up her phone and report what she observed to authorities, or was she simply doing her civic duty as a citizen? How should she have handled it? Subscribe and leave your thoughts on this topic of discussion. Let me know, did she handle that properly? And how do you think this was handled by the Trump administration? Like, share, and subscribe. And join me next time for another discussion with Dena. Ta-ta!
This concludes your daily discussions with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.